All right, sixth grade friends, here we go. Continuing with solving inequalities, graph the solution. I'm not writing the instructions out today because it's going to be straightforward. It's problems 4 through 15 on page 354 out of the Big Ideas book as found on Google Classroom. But Thursday, May 7, finishing up the week strong with graphing some inequalities. So let's look at our examples today. X over 3 or x divided by 3 plus 4 is less than or equal to 7. Well, as we know, now that we have two-step equations, I'm going to kind of reverse back to what I said yesterday. Now we're going to need to kind of show our work a little bit. There's not really much mental math happening here because these are multi-step equations where we're going to have to go through and isolate the variable. Remember that? Yeah, I'm sure you do. But we're going to have to get back into that. So with x over 3 or x divided by 3 plus 4 is less than or equal to 7, this is going to become x over 3 plus 4 equals 7. All right, so I'm trying to solve for x. Now I need to isolate the x over 3 by subtracting the 4 from both sides. So I come over here and do 7 minus 4, and I believe that's 3. That leaves me with x over 3 equals 3. Now from here, I think we can pretty much solve it. This is now looking like something we did yesterday, where the idea that with x divided by 3, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3, and I know that 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So x equals 9 in this equation. So my graph is going to start at 9, because I have to solve the equation, and then I have to graph it. Now, it says it can be less than or equal to, so x can equal 9, which means this is going to be a shaded circle because x can equal 9. Now, it's x, the x is on the smaller side of the equation because this is less than or equal to 7. It's on the smaller side of the equation, so my numbers are going to get smaller. So that tells me that my graph is going to go left. And that's going to go 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and so forth. But you just need to put the 5 numbers. That's fine. All right, we got 4 examples we're going to look at. Here's the second one. 8 is less than 8 plus 4x. 8 is less than 8 plus 4x. Well, first of all, 8 equals 8 plus 4x. So I need to isolate the 4x by getting rid of this positive 8. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. That's going to give me 0. I'm going to subtract 8 over here, and that's going to give me 0. That leaves me with 0 equals 4x. Well, 4 times what equals 0? Well, x would have to be 0. 4 times 0 equals 0. So x equals 0. That makes sense. So my graph is going to start at 0. The question is now, is it going to be shaded or unshaded? Well, it's going to be unshaded because x cannot be 0. All right? This side is greater than this side. 8 is less than 8 plus 4x, not equal to. So it's going to be an unshaded circle over the 0. That's my 0. That's my unshaded circle. Now my x, don't be confused, it's open to this side. Remember, it's not which way it points, it's which side of the inequality that it's on. 8 plus 4x, it's on the bigger side of the inequality, okay? Which means that my line is going to be going right. X will not equal 0, but it can be anything bigger than 0, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. All right, let's get our other board here. Let's look at our third example here. 3.3 is greater than x over 5 minus 1.8. 3.3 is greater than x over 5 minus 1.8. So once again, set up an equation. 3.3 is going to be equal to x over 5 minus 1.8. Now I need to isolate my x over 5. Isolate the variable. It's negative 1.8, so I'm going to add 1.8 to both sides. That's going to be 0. I'm going to come over here and add 1.8. 3 plus 8 is 11. Put the 1 down, carry the 1, drop my decimal straight down. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 1 is 5. I get 5.1. So I end up with 5.1 is equal to x over 5. Well, once again, I have a division equation. X divided by 5 equals 5.1. So to isolate x, to get x by itself, I would have to multiply both sides by 5. So I can come right over here. I'm going to multiply 5.1 times 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. There is one digit that comes after the decimal in the problem. So there's one digit that comes after the decimal in the answer. I now see that x equals 25.5. But that's not enough. I have to graph it. So my graph, I'm going to come over here. My graph is going to start at 25.5. Now my question is this going to be shaded or unshaded? Well, it says 3.3 is greater than, or x over 5 minus 1.8 is less than 3.3. So x cannot equal 25.5. X has to be less than. It's on the smaller side of the inequality. X has to be less than that, which means that my line is going to go right, which means that 25.4, 25.3, 25, whoops, put my decimal too soon there, 25.2, and you'll need to have 5. I'm not going to crunch in there and make another one. But you could do that 24.5. You could go down by 0.5 and say 25.5, 25, 24.5, 24. As long as you have intervals that are spaced evenly apart, you can get creative on how you want to do that. Okay? So let's go to our last one. Draw a little line here so there's no confusion. 0.2 plus 2.6c is greater than or equal to 8. Well, let's first set up an equation. 0.2 plus 2.6c equals 8. All right, so we can handle that. So first of all, we want to isolate the 2.6c by getting rid of this 0.2. Now this is a positive 0.2, so we're going to subtract 0.2. That's going to give me 0. Now, okay, when I do this minus 0.2, all right, at this point right now, all of you sixth graders watching this video should be screaming at me about this and saying, no, no, no. Mr. Swack, you got to line up the decimals, okay? You can't do that. This isn't just 8 minus 0.2 is going to equal 6. Remember how you got to think about this. It's going to be minus 0.2, because if there was a decimal in the 8, that's where it would be. So you really probably want to think of it as 8.0. Borrow from the 8, make it a 7, make the 0 a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. Drop my decimal straight down. 7 minus nothing is 7. That leaves me with 2.6c equals 7.8. Well, to isolate c, to figure out what c equals, I would have to divide both sides by 2.6. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do 7.8 divided by 2.6. But we need to remember our rules about dividing decimals. We have to move the decimal in the divisor, which is the number you're dividing by, all the way to the right. So that 2.6 becomes 26. And then we move the decimal in the dividend the same number of places. So since I moved this one place, I have to move this one place. So my new problem actually becomes 78 divided by 26. Now remember our rules. I can take 26, I'm going to round it to 30, and I'm going to think that since 3 can go into 7 2 times, I think that 26 can go into 78 2 times. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to do some scratch work. 26 times 2, 2 times 2 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. Put the 2 down, carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus the 1 is 5. I get 52. I'm not sure. So if you're not sure, and you don't think maybe that's not quite big enough, it's better to try again with the next bigger number. In this case, 26 times 3 than to make a mistake and have to erase everything. We've talked about that. So let's just try 26 times 3 and see what it is. 3 times 6 is 18. Put the 8 down, carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Well, I'll be. That's what we like. We see that 26 times 3 is 78. 26 can go into 3, or 26 can go into 78 3 times. We know there's none left over because we've proved that there. 26 times 3 is 78. That tells me that C equals 3. Well, what does that mean for our graph? Well, it means we have a graph that starts at 3. And I'm going to kind of erase to make a little bit room for our graph. We have a graph that starts at 3. All right? Question is it going to be shaded or unshaded? Well, the original inequality tells us that 0.2 plus 2.6c is greater than or equal to, meaning that c can equal 3, which means this needs to be shaded. All right, so we're okay with that. But now our c is also on the bigger side of the inequality. We ended up with the 2.6c is bigger or equal to 7.8. So it can be 3, but it can also be anything bigger than 3, which means our graph has to go right. 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, 6th graders, you folks are awesome. Hope you learned something from this video, and we'll catch you on the flip side. All right, talk to you later, 6th grade. Bye.